from a 30,000 foot view, what are the steps somebody needs to go through to set up correctly, just the different things they need to consider so that they will be successful and have the results that you were talking about before?
Okay. So 30,000 foot view.
Yes.
Claim your Google My Business profile. Get through that. Once you've claimed your GMB profile, fill out your GMB profile. Every single field.
Okay.
Including on down to the year that you opened up in business. Because if you don't, it's going to show that you're open less than 1 year, even if you've been open for 15.
Okay.
So, so basically fill everything out. Understand from a ranking perspective that the only thing that's going to matter is your category,
Mm-hmm.
the website link that you're pointing to, and even that's a weak signal. So if you
Okay.
have if you have multiple locations, basically you link to a location page.
Yeah.
The name of your business is extremely important because Google does put a lot of weight into those keywords.
Mm-hmm.
So, pro tip: if your name is, Daniel's Plumbing,
Right.
but you want to do Daniel's Plumbing and Heating and Air Conditioning,
Yeah.
go get a DBA.
Yeah.
Make sure it's on everything that you have, your signage, your business cards, etc. And then you can put those keywords in there. That'll get you better ranking. And then focus basically on the ongoing things, which is doing Google My Business posts, doing reviews, making sure that you're looking at and answering and seeding your questions and answers. And then everything else is actually goes back to just organic SEO.
Mm-hmm.
It's getting links. It's developing good content for your website.
Links to your website or links to your GMB?
Good question. Links to your website.
Yeah.
So, because everything that you do to enhance the SEO aspects of your website impacts your local ranking as well.
Ah, okay. Interesting.
So, there's a lot of confusion that a lot of people think that there's a separate algorithm
Yeah.
for local than there is for organic, and there's not. The two are tied together. It's just local has a couple extra signals
Right.
that are kind of sprinkled on top, you could
Right.
say.
Right.
There's some other technical things that go behind that. But anyway, that's what I would do is to just fill everything out, actively do it, and be constantly, doing all those activities we just talked about and
Yeah.
uploading photos, etc. I mean, we at Stay Demand, I mean, we have our business is built on this. Like we do this for companies
Right.
actually.
Exactly.
We
So
manage their GMBs.
filling the fields out, you already mentioned like looking for the business name is very important and those keywords. Now, when I filling out the description, you said category, and I think you can put like your services, what you do, and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
how important is to also look for the right keywords or different things to look for when I'm filling out all these different things? I think
Zero.
keywords or whatever you're saying. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Zero.
Oh,
Because the thing is that the category is the most powerful piece. Your categories that you
how
select.
many can I select?
Uh, Gosh, that's a great. I think it's up to 10.
Okay, so I can select more. Okay, I just wasn't sure, like
Oh yeah,
one or two. Okay, so there's definitely
absolutely.
multiple. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a tool that I'm going to share later on that can help you basically look at all the categories your competitors are using,
Oh, okay, that's good.
so that way you can incorporate it into your strategy.
To use
Um,
the same ones probably, or to, yeah,
Correct. Yeah, or see if they're messing up.
right.
Because there is no such thing as category dilution, like having too many categories. That's
Mm-hmm.
not true. Having the wrong category
Mm-hmm.
or the wrong categories, that can happen. And that can actually lead to really some bad horror stories where you'll start getting phone calls for plumbing and you're a lawyer.
Right. Yeah, that
you know,
definitely makes sense.
exactly. Yeah. So there's that. And I guess the last thing I could add on to that is that start getting, depending on the category that you are in, is you definitely want to keep an eye out on your local competitors.
Yeah.
And you want to see if any of them are breaking the Google My Business guidelines. Because if they are, you report them as spam. And if you report them as spam and Google takes them down, well, guess what? You just went up.
Right. Right. And when you're saying going against the rules, what would typical, like, this would be interesting to know, like, for one, to find mistakes from others, but also to avoid them yourself. So what would
Yeah.
those typical mistakes be that they should avoid?
So the first thing that we see is and of course anybody who's using a virtual office or co-working space, right? We
Right. Right.
talked about that a little bit.
Exactly.
Pretty easy to figure out. You just put in an address, you take away the suite number, and then bang. If it's a co-working space or a virtual office, it'll come up probably pretty high.
Yeah.
You could also put in the address and just type in the word virtual, and if Regis is there, it's going to pop up. Just
Right.
look for the exact match. Homes, people who have a business that they run out of their home, but they're showing their address against the guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
People who are really badly putting keywords in their business name. You can suggest an edit and you can try to get them removed, or you can redress them.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that as well. Those are the big ones, basically. There's a lot more to it than that. There's you can look at the Secretary of State, are they admin dissolved, for instance. If they are, you can report them. And then last and finally are the big ones, which is the lead generators. Lead generators are a little bit harder to spot. They're usually pretty savvy, but sometimes they will actually be pretty dumb and put the fact that they're a lead generator right on their website. Yeah, it's silly, I know. But the best way to do it is actually call them.
Yeah.
And that's another easy way to kind of figure out that,
Right.
they're illegitimate. Either way, basically spam reporting or spam fighting, however you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's one of the easiest wins in local SEO.
Okay. So you mentioned before that it is important to post regularly. So I never connected my Google My Business account, for instance, with posting. I always connect posting with, of course, like Facebook or whatever, or blog posts.
Sure.
So tell us a bit about what the best and typical way would be to use Google My Business for posting, and a best practice for that.
I'll take it a step further and I'll give you the benefits of it too.
Yeah.
So from a mechanical standpoint, right? GMB posts are not social media, like you're saying.
Right.
So you have to get yourself out of that mindset first. And now you need to put yourself in the mindset of, okay, what am I going to do for the consumer experience? Meaning, how is this going to drive me business? Okay. Or how am I going to be able to educate somebody enough that they want to actually give me a call? Because they're right there. They're at my front door, basically, at this point.
Right.
So so I suggest a cadence of at least once per week.
Okay.
The posts are going to show for months of your posts show on the knowledge panel in a carousel.
Mm-hmm.
Used to only be one would show and then it would disappear after 7 days. But I still suggest at least once a week.
Yeah.
Anyway, why do you want to do this in the first place? Well, there's a couple killer reasons why. First one reason is, and the one I like the most, is when somebody's doing a search on mobile, you'll see posts from businesses like this. So if I'm looking at that Italian restaurant,
right,
above that Italian restaurant's knowledge panel,
yeah,
I'm going to see posts from other businesses. Okay. So that means that you can get a leg up on your competition.
Right.
The secondary is GMB has something called a justification.
Mm-hmm.
It's a silly name, but whatever. That's what they call it. The justification basically is that when you're looking at the 3-pack and you see a little icon, right, like a checkbox or something like that, and it says this website mentions or this review mentions.
Yes, exactly.
Well, now you're going to start seeing that, and also they have this company offers X service. Yeah. Well, with posts, you also get a justification as well.
Okay.
So, and depending on the query and the category, different types of justifications show.
Yeah.
So this is just another way to take advantage of the GMB real estate.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's conversions. Most of our clients, it's like when we put up a GMB post, they end up seeing about a 200% lift in conversions. So I'd
Wow.
say it's pretty worth it.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So for the type of post to put out, you could
Yeah.
see it like more like a blog type, more educating, more consumer based to give information, and then have like a call to action, or what would the typical like next step intent be behind that? Because like, yeah, how to kind of
Yeah.
frame the post and all that. Yeah.
It depends on the kind of business you are. Okay.
Okay.
So, because a lot of businesses, they don't blog a lot, right?
No. Right.
And, for whatever reason. And, but the post really, actually, believe it or not, shouldn't be more educational.
Okay.
Educational is for social.
Okay.
Okay. It should actually be more commercial oriented.
Okay. Okay.
Because think about the intent think about your intent when you're looking for a pizza shop.
Right.
Do you want to find out about the history of
Right.
how a Chicago pizza was made?
Yeah.
Or
No.
do you want to have 25% off your first order?
Second.
Okay. So think about, again, try to think about yourself when you're thinking
Right.
about these types of things, because your behavior actually dictates a lot of what GMB does, by the way.
So that would be a
So
post like, hey, this week 20% off or something like that, right?
exactly.
Okay.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Who cares about the history of your
Right.
company?
Right.
Nobody cares about that really,
True.
until they get there, and then they'll look at the stuff on the wall. But anyway, yes. Right. So you want to be more promotional in nature if you can.
Perfect. Okay. Very good. Very good. And you said about once a week, right? That would be like the best practice to kind of put out
Yeah.
once per week. Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned, of course, reviews. How important are reviews? Like you said, posts and keywords. If I don't have any reviews at all, is that gonna hurt a lot? How important would you say are the reviews? And probably positive ones.
So the answer is yes. Yes and yes. So I believe the stat is 79% of users will look at reviews that you've made within the past 2 weeks. 67% of those users are going to look at your response.
Mhm.
Okay. What this basically means is that when I'm making a decision to buy, right? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at your reviews.
Yeah.
And I'm not expecting all 5 stars. I mean,
Right.
everybody makes mistakes.
Right.
You get a waitress is going to spill a drink or whatever, right?
Right.
That's going to happen. So basically, but the general rule of thumb is get reviews, get more reviews if you can than your competitors, and make sure that you answer every single review.
Okay. Okay.
Even if it's a negative review.
Right. Okay.
And when you're answering a negative review, think about the person who's going to read that response, not the person who left the review.
Got it.
Even though you can turn like a 3-star into a 5-star, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't, then at the very minimum, you can show empathy, you can show sympathy,
Right.
And you can encourage that person to reach back out to you to solve the issue. That shows me as a user that if I have a bad experience, you're going to make it right.
Exactly.
So, and reviews, by the way, are a ranking signal at the same time as well. There's a certain point where they stop working as far as the rankings, as far as like, it's like when you get to like, 400, 500 reviews, it's kind of like, okay. You're a good company.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
Okay. Do you have like any tricks, hacks, whatever, for companies that are not like starting out and don't have reviews, like how to get more reviews quickly? Because like, let's say the other restaurants already have their 20, 30, 40. I'm just starting out. So I'm like, oh, I have to kind of overtake them. So what are like best practices, bribes? I don't know.
No, you can't do bribes.
In the guidelines. That's what I'm saying. In the right manner. What would
no incentives allowed? No incentives allowed unless you want to lose all of your reviews.
Right. Exactly.
So I have caused companies to lose thousands of reviews, by the way. So, but hey, they had offer they were giving away on Facebook, to get reviews, $5 a review.
Oh wow.
Yeah, their fault, not mine. No, but just anyway, seriously, back to answer your question, right? All right. So when you're setting up your GMB profile, in the info section underneath, right above right underneath the phone number is something called a short name.
Yeah.
Now, a short name is a vanity URL, okay, but it is also a method of collecting reviews.
Oh, okay.
For instance, our GMB profile is www.g.page/local SEO. Now that gets you to our profile.
Yes.
If you add /review in back of that,
Yeah.
automatically pops up the modal window for the review.
Okay.
So what I suggest is that at the point of sale, where you've just made a customer ecstatically happy, say, hey, do you mind if I text you this link and would you leave us a review?
Mm-hmm.
Include it in your thank you emails when you
Yes.
send an email to somebody.
Yes.
Include it in your newsletter. Well, I take that back. You might get some negative reviews if you do that.
So right after the purchase, where usually they are still on their
Yeah,
buying high. Yeah.
exactly. You've just done a great job. You've repaired somebody's furnace,
Right.
or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
You can have a contest and incentivize your staff to get reviews.
Okay. Okay.
So it's not against the rules, for instance, for you, Daniel, to say, hey, I thanks, happy, I'm glad you're happy. Thank you very much for letting us help you. I'm going to send you a link. If you could write a review telling people about your experience, it's going to help other people. And if you wouldn't mind mentioning my name, I would really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And now internally, you can have a contest.
Got it.
So that'll
Okay.
help ramp up. But
Yeah.
that's, by the way, a key piece of getting reviews.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. One last question about like the technical side. I see a lot of people wondering sometimes, because you have like your reviews with Google My Business, which is of course important, as we've learned. And there's like so many other like review opportunities out there. Nowadays you can be reviewed on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on who knows where. So of course, being local, people should probably focus on Google My Business and not care so much for others, right? Or is there a way to connect it? Or so kind of like that scenario, what would you suggest and advise these people that are struggling between, okay, should they go here? Should they review here? Kind of to bring
Yeah.
clarity for that.
No, it's a very good question. It's a question that I hear a lot, right? So